There is definitely a question that we all have in our minds, is that so women are not a minority in this world, and our industry is exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
And when you look at the figures, at the statistics, just in France, only I think 20% of directors are female directors. And this is something I cannot really explain, because when you look at the numbers in schools, in cinema schools, they are equally successful, 50-50 most of the time, get out of the school successfully, are being selected. And what happens between the moment they get out of school and the moment they're going to direct their first feature films? And why female directors have so much problems carrying on their projects, make them produced. So the whole question is, do they have the right network? Do they have enough confidence? And shall we not just look at who are the decision makers? Like, shall we not look at commissioners, curators, editors in the art world, basically, that are taking these kind of crucial decisions for someone's career?
Well, this is pretty much where I disagree. It's not that I disagree on the fact that there's not enough women in key positions, because that's so obvious that there's no ground to disagree. Still, the one thing that I'm bothered with when it comes to parity is that I don't believe that it's a solution, because I believe that the problem is much deeper than that. Okay, and I don't think it's going to solve the entire problem.
No, it's not going to solve the entire problem. If you don't...
parity is more a consequence.
But if you don't inquire parity in those key positions, that how can you give access to these women to express themselves? Because they need to go through those gates.
Let me clarify I think that eventually parity should be there. Not only parity in terms of gender, but also in terms of ethnic groups.
Yeah, diversity in general.
But I don't think it should be forced. I think it should be the consequence of, and the illustration of the fact that we actually addressed and solved the problem. And I believe that the only way to address and solve the problem is through education. And it's interesting, I mean, in France there's a school that's been created in Lyon that's targeting, and it's a very difficult selection process. It's as difficult as FEMIS, but it's not thought in the same way. They are targeting people who couldn't afford living in Paris, even sharing a room in Paris, couldn't afford a private school, who usually were not living in a city, usually couldn't afford studying for long, but who with a strong personality. And it's interesting the results that they come up with. There's naturally a very strong diversity. They don't push diversity. They just try to eliminate a certain kind of people. That's already yes, exactly. They try to eliminate obstacles, and the result, when you see the students, is that it's naturally diverse. Yeah.
And I think it's really bad, because this is something that could be very positive for all of us, for the whole industry. To have more diversity in the representation of a more modern society, of our society. Like, it's not only one type of point of view that we're going to see in cinema.
The funny thing is, I've always been, but I think it's only, honestly, I think it's by chance. I've always been working with more female directors at any given moment in my producer's life. I've always been working on more films that are directed by female than male. And maybe it's not by chance, but it was never consciously, because I think there should be more female directors, and then suddenly this topic is on the table, like publicly.
When you were referring to women that are not being given the chance to direct big studio films, for example, or big budget film, that's also the same thing for certain type of films, like genre films, for example. It's not that easy to think that people are going to give the chance to a female director to do a horror film or genre film. And you did one who was very successful. And suddenly, like, people think, oh, women director can direct this kind of film.
And it's interesting because this is also very much related to the fact that the usual audience, or in people's minds, in executives' minds, the audience for genre films should be male for some reason. Why? No one knows.
And the fact is, I had the same problem also financing The Girls of the Sun, on the fact that it was part of the film is a war film,
Yes.
and people are really
Yes.
questioning
Yes.
the ability of my
Yes.
director
Yes.
to direct a war film.
Yes.
So why would I be in a situation when I should answer this question? Why nobody would have questioned me about it if it was a male director?